Alright, hello everyone, and welcome to Rut-Row, It's a Scooby Doo podcast, episode 3, Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf. I'm Chris.
I'm Mo. I'm here.
And we're gonna watch Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf.
Yeah.
This is the last one that we just have to get through. That's what I think.
I don't know. Like many of my childhood loves, I remember loving Scooby Doo and the Reluctant Werewolf a lot.
And I don't.
But I also remember loving Little Bear, and that turned out to be a pile of shit. So, like...
I was gonna say...
I also love The Troll in Central Park. Have you seen that movie? It's trash. It's trash. Don't watch it.
You mentioned that last time, too.
Oops, recap of last episode.
I don't disbelieve.
I don't respect my childhood self enough to be like, yeah, I'll be perfect, actually. But you might be right. This might be something we have to suffer through. But I hope it's not. At the
very least, it's not going to be as long as the last one. Boo Brothers was a long thing, it was comparatively. Yeah. So I feel like this is going to be fine. Mm-hmm. But as far as Scooby Doo movies go, it's pretty low on the list. Also, Shaggy's wearing a red shirt on the back. On the front, he's wearing his green shirt because this art was done after it came out. You can tell they used the new art style on the front of this case, and on the back it's got the actual animation on it. Yeah. Shaggy's wearing a red shirt, which is something they did for a little while. I don't know why. I don't know if it was cheaper
They didn't have the rights to the green shirt and the brown pants, so they had to do red and blue. He had to be like Bart Simpson.
Or Mario.
Mario.
Oh no! It's a ghost! Yeah. I'd like to apologize to every Italian listener.
It's me, Shaggy.
Yeah, so Shaggy's clothes had a disagreement with the production company and left for a little while, apparently. But for whatever reason. So the plot of this movie is that, and I'm not having a stroke, this is the actual plot of this movie. Dracula turns Shaggy into a werewolf so that he can compete in an all-monsters race competition that happens every year. So they drive cross-country. That's it. That's the plot of the movie. I guess they're doing it so Dracula will turn Shaggy back into a human.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think this was I think I was telling you before, I think this was around the time that, it was really popular to make, basically, speed racer episodes of, cartoon characters, Wacky Racers and all that.
Yeah, you mentioned Wacky Racers when we were talking about this, and I don't remember anything about Wacky Racers at all. I don't know the first thing about it. Well, let me tell you.
There was Dastardly and his dog sidekick, Pugly.
I've seen the dog because he's a meme. The laughing dog's a meme.
Yeah, and he has that little hissy laugh. Yeah.
I remember Penelope Pitstop, but I don't know if she was her own separate thing or if she was part of Wacky Racers. I just remember that every episode that Penelope Pitstop was in was Penelope Pitstop beats the bad guy without knowing the bad guy's doing anything usually.
Yeah. Penelope Pitstop. I hated her. I don't know.
Hot takes.
She was just
hot takes from Rut-Row.
She wasn't interesting. She's boring. She's a little bitch.
So the last thing I'm going to say before we go to watch this is that the description on the back of the box includes the phrase, a horrific horde of frighteningly funny cars driven by a spine-tingling assortment of celebrity monsters. So that's how I think this movie's going to go.
Well, the last thing I would like to say is I am taking over and renaming the series, and it is now called A Boy and His Dog, a Scooby Doo movie retrospective. We need that classy, sophisticated kind of taste to it. It'll grow on you. It'll grow on you. It's fine.
As literally every part of this show's crew, no. You're being overruled.
We'll see. Let's watch.
We're not going to see.
Let's see the movie then. And then we'll see about the title.
And we return.
Welcome back to Overthrowing Capitalism with Scooby and the Gang.
No.
No, yeah.
No.
The kids will love it. It's got that rebelliousness sound to it. It's perfect.
I'm not here to appeal to the kids, alright? If I was here to appeal to the kids, I wouldn't be making a Scooby Doo podcast.
Oh, honey.
I'm making a podcast that appeals to no one. That's the objective.
It's actually pretty brilliant, actually.
So, we finished the movie, and...
Well, we did finish the movie.
So, even with time dulling the wounds of the Boo brothers... It's been a little while since we've recorded. Mm-hmm. This one was still much better than the Boo brothers, but it goes on too long.
It just goes on and on and on. And we'll get into it, but
okay.
They could have just cut some shit out.
Well, as with the previous ones, there are very obvious commercial breaks in this. It was just a TV special they put on DVD. Mm-hmm. Literally, I think they put it on DVD like almost 20 years later.
Right.
Just
right.
Ship it out. There we go.
Right.
We wrote notes this time because we're trying to be better at this. And everything else.
I started out writing notes. Really more of a stream of consciousness.
Well, it got really hard to write notes when like the same shit just kept happening.
Right.
I tried to come up with some good stuff though, but there's like significantly more notes for the beginning than the end because it's hard to keep paying attention.
We have the same problem, which is like we can't. We shouldn't have graduated college.
Hey, they gave me the paper. They can't take it back. So
let's start with the start.
Yeah.
And take it from there. Shit. Who's that?
I'm a professional.
Who was that?
It was Riley, as always.
Slut.
So to start off, just you noticed at the beginning that the title has claw marks through it.
Yeah.
And my response to that at the time was, oh, it's because there's monsters in this movie, so it's got like a monster movie title. I then realized immediately afterwards and didn't say anything as to prevent embarrassing myself in private, so now I can do it publicly. It's just because he turns into a werewolf. They're claw marks because he's a werewolf.
That's stupid.
It's really stupid.
But also, I thought maybe I was missaying it, and it was actually like tired tracks.
No, it's claw marks. There's like claw marks going across Scooby Doo.
Maybe I was hoping it was just... Oh, it was so stupid. So, the title screen, when they start up the movie... yeah. And then it has a bunch of monsters hiding behind a tower on a stairwell. You never see that stairwell. The title menu.
Yeah, the title menu of the DVD. Yeah, that's very clearly just they took art they'd already made.
Worked on, yeah.
And through it. We actually did see the stairwell. The stairwell is in the shot, not after they did the beginning where they introduce a ton of things, which we'll go over, but when they're doing the title sequence and they're going through the castle, the stairwell is part of the castle.
The title sequence was really good.
Yeah, the title sequence is
that.
Cool. But yeah, so they just used some pictures they clip arted out of the movie and stuck it in that stairwell that we only see for about 4 seconds in the opening title.
Well, I mean, it's a kid's cartoon.
So, to start the movie, my first thought and the first thing I've written down is there's narration.
Yes.
We open narrating, and the narration just outright tells you Shaggy is a racer, and he's a really good racer, and he's racing in this championship race. Why the championship? What's going on? Who cares? Shaggy's racing. He's racing real good. He's real good at it.
Drive fast. He drive good, he drive fast, he got Scooby, he got Scrappy for no reason, he got a girlfriend now, for some reason.
So, literally, my notes here are narrator with 2 question marks, Shaggy is a racer with a question mark, and he has a girlfriend with 2 question marks. And these are all just things that we see while the narrator tells us. Mm-hmm. I don't know if this is for the visually impaired.
Maybe the...
Or they just want to make sure that we understand what we're seeing / hearing, so they're, like, hitting us from both angles.
Maybe they're shoving their logic dick in our mouth, like, real quick.
Oh my god, never use that analogy again.
they're just like, he's a race car driver! Take it! Accept it! I'm sorry. I'm sorry. That was aggressive.
So, Shaggy wacky races his way to victory. It's literally just wacky racers. Mm-hmm. Like, his car can split in half, and it goes up on stilts.
Can dig tunnels.
And it digs the tunnel. It's literally just wacky racers. I wouldn't be surprised if Hanna-Barbera literally had the Wacky Racers crew around and was like, hey guys, we want to make a Scooby Doo movie. And they were like, you're in the wrong studio. And Hanna-Barbera was like, no, we're not!
I can't be. I'm Hanna-Barbera. I own this studio.
And so they were forced to make a Scooby Doo movie.
Yes.
That somebody wrote as they animated it.
And make it they did. No, there was definitely writing beforehand, because there are some good jokes in this.
But so then, that whole thing is narrated. Mm-hmm. Shaggy's got a girlfriend, Googie.
I thought at first they said her name was Gook. Or Gooey.
You could not keep that quiet, because if I thought that's what they said, I wouldn't be able to keep it quiet either, because no. It's not okay.
Yeah, I was really upset. I'm like, and I was just like, did they just say? And they did not. Apparently, it's Googie. Which is still stupid, but also very nearing. Terrible word.
Really playing with some fire there, friends.
Like, I realize Shaggy's a stupid name, but Googie?
Yes.
Like...
Norval Shaggy Rogers is his full name.
Yeah, there is no God. There is no God.
So then the narrator is like, as we close off of that, here's Dracula and some monsters. And I was like, wait, is this whole movie narrated? Oh, please, God, no. Because literally my note is then narrator written larger with 3 question marks. Because I was like, no, please, he's just... Like, what I was thinking during this whole thing was, is this narrator just going to read me the story of the movie and I don't have to watch it? Because I'm okay with that. As long as it doesn't take that long.
Yeah.
But then we go to Dracula and... the monsters, and they introduce some of the monsters,
and they point out that
I think the title sequence is before they introduce the monsters, though. It's the narrator is like, and now we go to this castle, and then they do the title sequence through the castle. Yeah. The castle looks gorgeous. I don't know who the artist is for the title sequence. I didn't look that up, but they did an amazing job.
Superb.
Yep. Yeah, like it looks just brilliant art. And then the plot of the movie is that...
revealed to us at that table, basically.
Yeah, the plot of the movie is that the werewolf has retired.
Yes.
Apparently you can retire from being a werewolf. The werewolf. Mm-hmm. There's no other werewolf. There's only one werewolf in the entire world.
Even though he had an assistant that definitely looked like a werewolf to me.
His assistant was definitely a werewolf. He was like a hunchback werewolf.
Yes.
And so they get a postcard from the werewolf saying, I'm retiring, I live in Florida now, later suckers. And instead of, like, going to annoy the werewolf and demand he come back, apparently, like, retiring from being a monster is, like, a sacred and protected thing. Maybe he gets a pension or a gold watch or whatever, but they can't touch him. So they're like,
there's an act behind
we can't have the monster race without a werewolf. Mm-hmm. I don't know why. They don't present us with rules or an ancient pact or anything like that. It's just, nope, can't have the monster race if there's no werewolf.
Right. And might I add, they were like, oh, we need all these representatives. I did not see a single zombie. And I feel
they went straight to the bone guy.
Yeah.
Bone Jangles. They didn't have a zombie.
They had Frankenstein. They had the bone guy. They had a dragonfly pun man.
Yeah, they only used that pun for one joke.
They had the witch. No, the dragonfly was actually part of the race.
Right, but they only used the fact that there was a dragonfly in the movie to make one joke.
Right.
Every other scene he was in, he could have been anything.
Mm-hmm. Why didn't the vampire race for best monster?
They never... Like, Dracula hosts it, but is not involved in any other way. There's no explanation as to what he gets out of hosting it either. Like, is he sponsored? Right. Is he making money off of this? Why is he so intent on them having the monster race? No idea. No. But he's really, super into it.
He has a really hot wife.
Yes.
Like Vanna White Bahadur. In fact, her name is Vanna.
Her literally was Vanapyra, I believe, or Vampira, or something like that.
I hate the name.
I hate it so much. But yeah, she was like somewhere between Vanna White and Elvira. If you remember Elvira.
Yeah.
She actually played both of those roles at different times during the movie.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
But, like, interesting. I didn't like her character, but I just liked how she looked. She looked nice. Pretty.
Mo got the toon boner.
My God, my entire childhood is a toon boner for that woman.
Everything makes so much sense now.
Right?
So yeah, he basically goes around the table and they make a couple dumb jokes, just introducing monsters. Like, here's the mummy. I think they skipped out on zombie because they had 3 undead. Frankenstein, skeleton, mummy. Skip the zombie. Yeah. I guess. They didn't introduce some of them. They just showed up in the race later. That was only like 1 or 2 of them, but I noticed that they did that. But then, so they're like, we need a werewolf. And they pull out this ancient book that says every 500 years you can make a new werewolf. The next werewolf will be Shaggy. And I wrote down, why the fuck is there a prophecy about Shaggy becoming a werewolf? And where the fuck did they get his picture?
Right. Yeah, I wrote something down like that too. I wrote, how long has this book existed with his picture?
Yeah. 500 years ago, like, before there were races,
they
before
knew
there were cars.
There was going to be a stoner baby out there, and he was going to be the chosen one.
Yeah, actually, at this point, Shaggy's name was just Shaggy. He wasn't named Norval till later. He's literally only in the credits, only addressed ever as Shaggy.
Right.
And then later they were like, that's not a name. Turns out, we got to think of a thing, guys. Also, why don't we give him a weird name?
Might I add, after they introduce all the monsters, they then introduce the Hunch Bunch. And I was upset because they were like, oh no, the Hunch Bunch, they're the worst. And I thought they meant like they're the scariest monsters. And that's not fair because they're just disfigured.
Yeah, well, it turns out the reason people don't like the Hunch Bunch is because they just fuck around a lot, and people are afraid of being caught in the crossfire, I guess. But they're like, it does seem like they're acting like they're the scariest, because like Bone Jangles is like shaking and making a lot of noise, and they're all like, they seem scared, and then the Hunch Bunch shows up, and it's just 2 henchmen, 2
Igors. Basically.
Yeah, two Igors. One is named Crunch. And he has his tongue out all the time, and he spits like that.
And his spit gets mileage.
Yes. One of the jokes I really liked in this movie was he's talking to Dracula, and Dracula's on like a video screen, and he's spitting in Dracula's face, and Dracula's reacting to the spit, even though he's on the other side of a video screen.
There was another thing like that where it had like somehow they're communicating through a Victrola vinyl record player thing with the the horn
there was
thing,
a bunch of weird things going on.
Spitting through there, and I'm like,
oh yeah, and it's hitting Dracula.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't know how that's happening, but it's happening.
But yes, they introduced Crunch, and the other one's not named until a little bit later, but his name is Brunch, and he's like very well to do in English and has a monocle. And I actually wrote down, God damn it, I like the Hunch Bunch. They were just generally silly. Like, I didn't like every joke they did or whatever, but I was like, man, I'm a sucker for, like, the guy who's not dumb, but, like, the guy who speaks weird, and then the dude with the English accent translating. Like, I'm a sucker for that trope. I usually think it's funny. Yeah. And then just, like, their dumb schemes and stuff, I was like, yeah, this is generally going to be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Mostly because they don't do any puns.
They
do a lot of physical humor and things like that. Like, they were generally, like, a nice, silly little thing. I was a fan.
I think they were the most likable, actually.
Probably. Like, The thing is, they had the most solid writing. Like, Shaggy and Scooby are the protagonists, so they get stuck with a lot of the shitty jokes because they're just doing a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Hunch Bunch are, like, second tier part of the movie, so the ratio is a little bit better for them. Like, you enjoy seeing them on screen a little bit more because you're like, oh, cool, these guys, they're going to do something funny probably.
There.
Yeah. And so they have 3 days to turn Shaggy into the werewolf, apparently. Like, it's literally like, oh, it's tonight, the next night, and the night after that are the only 3 nights that this moonbeam that's going to shoot out of the moon can hit Shaggy. None of that makes any sense, but just run with it. Who cares?
Yeah. And I was a little confused because, they go do... I guess I'll get to that later.
Okay. They leave in the Batcopter.
Yeah.
Bruce Wayne's lawyer would like to have a word with you guys.
That was amazing.
It's a helicopter with bat wings.
It's kind of a waste. Really.
I feel like they could have done some more with that joke, and they didn't. The
first night, they end up at Shaggy's house?
Yes, they're at Shaggy's house. Shaggy and Scooby are watching a monster movie. Scooby bites Shaggy because he thinks he's popcorn. There's, like, a lot of really dumb...
He holds his arm, bites him, and just like, oh, sorry. I was like, that was malicious. Yeah. That was a malicious attack on Shaggy.
Well, they do the regular dumb jokes where it's like, Scooby's scared, and Scooby sees the monsters and no one else does. And he sees the monsters, and he's wondering if it's a monster on TV, and he's making sure, like, they do all those jokes.
Yeah.
Which I found a little annoying, because they got them all out of the way right at the beginning.
Right.
And I was like, those are classic Scooby Doo jokes. And they're dumb, but they're better if you don't do them all at once.
And I think maybe that's why it dragged so much, is because they threw so much at us at the beginning that the pacing was just off.
They did so many gags, and they just always had more gags, but all of them were mediocre, so it just started to become like this flat plane.
Right, yeah. You just end up in, like, the Ohio of the plot after...
Yeah, there's a point where it does feel like you've just reached a weird non-comedy nirvana.
Uh-huh.
But yeah, so they're at Shaggy's house, gags, they try to get Shaggy with the moon, it doesn't work. They have 2 days.
They try to go through the roof.
Oh no. Yeah, they try to go through the roof. Apparently you can just put a piece of your roof back on and no one knows the difference.
And there's no attic or anything, even though
Shaggy still owns that house at the end of the movie, and it's gonna rain. At some point it's gonna rain.
It gonna rain.
And then it's just gonna drain all on top of Shaggy's bed.
Apparently not, because
he's gonna have no idea.
That hole was perfectly covered.
I don't know.
Like, he didn't even see a hole when he went back to his bedroom.
That's because they used the same shot of his ceiling. They just didn't change anything about it. Anyway, so yeah, they try that. Doesn't work. Then Shaggy and Scooby are out getting snacks when it's time for the moon thing to happen. So they try to push him out of the grocery store in the cart. And a produce van backs up over the spot, and so he just ends up...
produce. He sells melons. It's cute. I like that show. Precious.
I didn't care about it.
Cute.
I'm not gonna take anything away from you. It was fine.
You've already taken enough away from me, so... And, like, by saying that, you kind of took a little away from...
No, if you think it was funny, I'm happy for you. But I didn't care. I was like, okay, yeah, it's watermelons, whatever. He hits the watermelons, they fly everywhere, the moonbeam doesn't hit him. Third night, he's going on a date with his girlfriend.
And the dogs.
So I wrote in here, A+ for bringing a dog on a date. Great idea.
This was pre-Tinder.
F- for bringing Scrappy on a date.
True story.
Turn off.
Like,
instant turn off.
You got no. What he's done is he's done a double duty thing. He has his wingman, and then the douchey guy who he's not that makes him look better.
Right, but they're all stuck in the same car in the drive-thru. Nothing's happening while the dogs are in the car.
Maybe again, Shaggy didn't seem interested in anything happening.
I think Shaggy might be asexual.
Which, respect to him. Aces,
I've
representation.
just noticed that over the course of these movies, he's not interested in all the women who are interested in him. Because, okay, 2 for 2 movies in a row now. Mm-hmm. Boo Brothers, then this. Women are obsessed with Shaggy.
And he's like...
Because Vampira's into him, too.
Yeah. Well, in a very indirect way.
3 women over the course of 2 movies.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why? What's that dude got?
He got that broccoli.
If girls are into skinny guys, I would be pulling so much more tail. But I'm not.
That's too funny.
So, I don't know. I need to know what he's doing that I'm not. I'm also obnoxious. You don't got
your dog and his annoying dog friend. You need those two wingmen. The left wing and the right wing. I'm
skinny. I eat a lot. I'm obnoxious. I have a car.
But do you have 2 dogs?
No.
Okay, well. There we go.
So then...
Work on yourself.
So then obviously it's the 3rd day and the movie's called The Reluctant Werewolf. They turn Shaggy into a werewolf.
Mm-hmm, yes.
Gags throughout the drive-in.
Yes. He gets the hiccups after he gets shot with the moonbeam.
I didn't even commentate on that because I was like, alright, hiccups make him change back and forth. I don't care. I would like to ask why the first time he changes, he immediately starts acting animalistic. He's like, "Arr, arr, arr," and then he changes back and she looks at him and he's Shaggy. Like, that's the joke. Mm-hmm. But then he's walking away from the car to get something for his hiccups. He's hiccuping, changing into the werewolf, non-reaction. Yeah. He's still just acting like Shaggy. Did he just need to get that out of his system? Like, I don't know what happens there. It's like, why does he not be walking away from the car, hiccup, and then just maul someone to death? And then he hiccups again and he's just Shaggy covered in blood.
And also, Shaggy, I noticed...
I wanted this movie to involve more murder.
As Shaggy's walking towards, like, the snacks to get another thing, he's, like, commenting about how, like, oh, people are such babies, and, like, oh, people get scared of...
because he's a werewolf.
Right. But who is he to talk about people screaming about movies and shit, considering this is the same... They downplayed
his cowardice because, like, he's watching the scary movie with Shaggy the first night and not scared. He's with Scooby Doo. And then he's watching this drive-in movie, not scared. When the monsters show up, he's terrified, but they're real-life horrifying monsters, so fine. But then he gets over that, and he's not scared of them every time he sees them or anything. He's like, alright, I gotta beat him in this race to turn back into a human. And I'm like, man, when did Shaggy's balls drop? What's going on here?
So... he turns to a werewolf.
Yeah, the only thing I wrote down for all of this is the crowd's response to a werewolf is attempted murder via vehicle. Because they form a mob to go get the werewolf instead of being like, there's an animal man, we're scared. They're like, no, there's an animal man, kill it!
But yeah, they get out of their cars. They don't use the cars as weapons, which, I mean, it would be...
this is referring to later, because first they're, like, chasing him around and stuff, but then he gets back into his car and drives off. They all get in their cars like they're going to run him off the road into a ravine.
I just feel like a little too late, you know? Like...
Also, when he gets back into his car and he's a werewolf, he tells his girlfriend, "It's me, Shaggy, stop screaming!" And she believes him immediately. Right. Like, a lot of this movie had me thinking, oh, that's convenient.
Yeah.
Like, a lot of this movie was just me having that thought. And then, so they get sleep dusted, picked up, taken to the castle. Dracula's like, you must be in the race! I'm not just being, like, racist or anything there. That's what he fucking sounds like. Also, he's
Shaggy.
Green. Shaggy!
I hate that shit.
Dracula was green.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. He's decaying.
He's a vampire. They don't decay. That's the point of vampires instead of Frankenstein. Frankenstein's green. Werewolf, or the vampire, isn't.
Yeah, well...
The Lost Boys would be a lot less appealing if they were decomposing. That would not be as popular a movie.
Well, all I can
would
say
not
about
have
that,
launched so many pretty boy careers.
He
I just thought it was weird. I thought, look, there was a lot of dumb vampire stuff in this. After they make Shaggy be the werewolf, there's a bunch of stupid stuff I don't even want to go over.
I just feel like if he was really pale, he wouldn't seem as menacing as a character, maybe.
I mean, he's not that menacing because it's a children's show.
As far as a children's show, he's very menacing.
He's very scary. Very scary.
Very scary, evil green man. That's why his wife was very pale. Was because to be like, oh, she's funny, he's evil. Green people are evil.
She's a woman and has to be attractive. He can just be
why
green and ugly.
Green people are evil? Because capitalism. That's why the show.
I thought you were going to say it's because they're the same color as vegetables.
No, that's why the show is called
No.
Overthrowing Capitalism with Super in the Game.
No.
It is.
No.
Now it is. Anyway, Shaggy and Scooby. And
Row the Scooby Doo podcast is now looking for a new co-host. Apply now!
Now you love me. You're never going to get rid of me.
God, if only. So,
I hate you too.
There's stuff in the castle where he finally makes Shaggy be the werewolf in the race by saying he'll turn him back.
Yeah, I took notes about the prizes where there was a Hawaiian vacation prize and everyone was like, gross. Mind you, before that he was roasting all those monsters and saying how ugly and shit they were, and they weren't taking it as compliments, and I was confused.
That was actually the only relevant part of this entire in the castle before the race sequence is they wake up Shaggy and everyone, and he's like, oh, clearly we have to be dreaming. Monsters aren't real. This can't be happening. This is a nightmare. And everyone's like, are you sure about that? Because we're all here. And he's like, nope, has to be a nightmare. These things aren't real. Then he starts to just roast the shit out of all the monsters because he thinks he's dreaming. And they get pissed off at each other and start fighting. And it was great. Yeah. That was actually really funny.
Yeah. But, what he was saying, saying, oh, they're so ugly or whatever, which is a positive trait in a monster, and they want to win this monster thing to be the best monster.
Right, the Swamp Thing cannot think that he's, fucking Johnny Depp.
Right.
He can't think he's attractive. He's a Swamp Thing.
Right.
The witches are witches with the hooked noses and the green skin. They have to think normal people find them scary. That's the point of being monsters.
Right.
And they seem proud to be monsters. They want to be the best monster.
Right.
Which is determined by a road race. For some fucking reason, I can't get over it. I'm going to bring this up again a few times because why the fuck is the best monster the one who can drive a car real good?
The fastest. Go vroom.
Vroom, vroom. Why does the Swamp Thing need to be fast? It doesn't make him a better Swamp Thing. In fact, I'd say he's a better Swamp Thing if he's slow and no one sees him coming. Also, why was the tar pit monster, who's called a monster, not in the race?
Yeah. Well, they fucked over some people.
Yeah,
I guess he got honorary mention as a pretty good monster.
I don't know. Anyway, I have some logistical questions about both this competition and this movie.
Yes.
And I don't expect them to be answered.
I wrote that the loser wins a Hawaiian vacation. And Shaggy was pretty cool with that until, he gets told that if he wins, he will become a human again. But then the winner gets to go to the black hole in Calcutta.
It's just a black screen and some screaming in the background, which is actually pretty funny.
I loved it. I loved it so much.
I did write, so I think my only other note for this prior to the race starting was when Dracula's like, sure, you can leave. Sorry about all of this. And obviously he's lying. But they go to leave and they stop when he mentions food. And I was like, fucking really? In this situation, Shaggy?
Your boy's gotta eat.
Your boy's gotta eat. I'm trying to remember if there's anything else. They stay the night. There's the party. He finally forces him. I am honestly confused why he wasn't just like, sure, I'll be in the race, and then he just goes for a leisurely drive and comes in last place and goes to Hawaii. I mean, he doesn't want to be a werewolf, but there's no indication that by leaving and not being in the race, he won't be a werewolf anymore.
Right.
So, like, sure, you want to leave, but if I've been kidnapped by monsters and they say you have to be in this race, I just say yes so they don't eat me. I'm just like, yeah, sure, I'll sit in the car, I'll press the gas pedal, and then I get to go home. Or go to Hawaii if I come in last. Like, that seems sweet.
Right.
I don't have any pride in my ability as a racer. I just want to go.
I mean, you know, the thing about being a werewolf is you do turn human again.
They were very confused about that because it's daytime for a lot of this, and he doesn't turn back. When they did the joke where Dracula is like, I wear sunblock, it's SPF 5000 or whatever.
I had the deepest sigh.
Yeah, you sighed really deep, and I wrote down still a better vampire than Twilight. Sometimes I feel bad about shitting on Twilight all the time, and then I remember that it's Twilight, and I remember all the things that are in it, and I'm like, no, I still have more to say. So then they get to run the track right before the race starts.
Which, that's what they could have cut.
Yeah, they absolutely could have cut that. There's a lot of things they could have cut, but first of all, they could have cut that. That's actually fine, like, because the movie hasn't been running so long, you're like, yeah, some of these jokes are funny, whatever. All their schemes fail, and it's good. By the way, I don't want to have to keep reiterating that this is like Wacky Racers, so let me just be clear. The cars can do anything. Like, so over the course of the, like, trial run they do of the course, they, like, walk across some alligators with the tires. I don't remember what else they do during the training session, because, again, you reach this point where it all just sort of becomes one thing.
Yeah, it just blurs all together.
But, so yeah, they, like, do a bunch of gags with the car doing things cars can't do and stuff like that. And they do the trial run, and they do it really, really well, and Dracula's like, oh, that's bad. I'm going to change the course for the race, which no one raises a stink over. Because he has the thing up on the wall on this giant map, and so they clearly had the course laid out for a while now. Day of the race, he, like, goes to all the other competitors and is like, we're changing the course. And I need to know what that conversation was like. Was nobody like, fucking why? And he was like, oh, the werewolf is really good at it. So? Who gives a shit?
I thought it was just a matter of who did the fastest, not...
Yeah. And so then they make Shaggy use the werewolf car instead of his usual car. The werewolf car has no indication as to why it's the werewolf car. It's like a buggy with steer horns on it. I think they might have straight up jacked the art for it from another show or something.
Or another Wacky Racer.
Yeah, they might have taken it literally from Wacky Racers and been like, alright, that's the car we're using. We have these stock images already done. Just draw Shaggy in them. Draw these images. We've just halved our production budget, which, by the way, could have been halved by shortening this movie.
Right.
Because what then proceeds is the race, and the race takes, like, literally a full hour, and it's an hour of 5-minute jokes.
And puns about
Less
the
than
racers'
that.
cars.
Yeah, it's literally puns, like, 1 to 2 minute gags, just going on and on and on and on. It never stops. And every time you're like, well, they have to be most of the way through the race now. But Dracula changed the course. You don't know how many things they have to get through anymore. Right. And it just keeps going.
And also, it's not like they, like, revisited a map or something. Or, like, you know, they could have easily just had a map with him that showed, how this was progressing.
They should have had a map that was like, oh, they're coming up on this thing's next, blah, 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 whatever. It would have been really easy.
Yeah.
And also the map could have looked really cool. Like, they could have done a really cool piece of art for the map, and then all you have to do...
had the bat helicopter hover above, showing the whole track.
Oh my god, they had these terrible top-down shots that were just the same road, with the same top-down stills of the cars moving around. It looked awful. While that looked awful, there were some things in this that looked really good. Mm-hmm. There was a tar pit monster that I thought was, like... Obviously, nothing in this show is amazing looking, but I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
Like, it had a sticky tongue, which I thought was, like, an interesting little thing for them to do. Just, you know, it was a nice little piece of animation. Yeah. Classic stuff.
It was entertaining.
Yeah. There were...
I wasn't bored. I was just like, this is taking a while.
Yeah, that's the thing is... What I would say is... This movie's probably actually really good for kids. Mm-hmm. Like, I think Boo Brothers, we were like, sit the kids down in front of it and leave. This one, I would say put your kids in front of it, be on your phone or your laptop, and, like, if this gives them something to do, you'll enjoy some of these jokes.
Look
They're
up
funny.
every 5 seconds.
Yeah, just look up every so often. It's cool. But, yeah, basically just the whole movie from that point on is Dracula trying to stop Shaggy from winning because he really needs him to keep being the werewolf for some reason.
Because he has to wait another 5,000 years for his next one.
500.
500 years.
But also... He needs him to be the werewolf because he needs to keep running the race because they have to keep determining the best monster by having them race cars because that makes you a good monster for some fucking reason. I still need to know what blood pact makes it so that they can't have the race if they don't have a werewolf.
The Werewolf Act of Versailles.
The Werewolf Act of Versailles from 1882.
Clearly safe.
Which clearly prohibits you from having any large-scale monster activity without one werewolf.
You know, but
they're a protected minority.
But as he's racing, I learned the real reason why Googie exists. And it's because she's his
Trixie.
Yeah.
From Speed Racer?
Yeah. She just helps the plot move on.
Yeah. Yeah, literally she's his Trixie, letting him know what's coming up. Being like, coming on the comm, being like, Speed, you have to watch out, there's rocks falling ahead!
Oh my god, it would have been amazing if they had animated it like that.
Well, that's basically what they did. Did you not notice that there were multiple shots that were her with the comm, the sky in the background, and, like, part of the car, and that was it?
Yeah, but can you imagine, like, her mouth doing her mouth up and down thing?
Just literally open and closed with the only two things that they drew.
Right, yeah. So that you could translate to anything, and it still wouldn't completely match up.
That would have been a really meta joke, though.
Yeah. They weren't ready for that at that time.
No, 1988, they were not ready to make that joke, which, by the way, this movie was made in 1988, and... is made like it's Hanna-Barbera, so it's a 60s cartoon made in 1988.
Yeah. That's the last thing I wrote was girlfriend added for plot leverage.
I'm trying to remember what else was relevant. Oh, the Villager.
I loved the Villager fans.
Yeah,
they were the best.
Dracula has enforced that all the villagers have to watch the race
all
and
4
cheer,
of them.
And they're not enthusiastic about it. Yeah, there's literally 4 villagers. They only took the time to draw 4 people. But it's actually really funny when he keeps going, I said Shaggy's fallen behind! And the villagers are like, yay. That's the only reaction you can get out of them, just yay.
No, they sometimes say boo.
Yeah, just randomly.
Boo.
They have no opinion about anything, so they're literally just yang and booing at random intervals.
Except for they get shocked once and they get real enthusiastic, and I don't know what that was about. That confused me.
They were electrified. By the most electrifying man in racing entertainment! Don't look at me like that.
Just... like, I'm dying, and I know you're right, and that's probably exactly what it was. I'm just upset. Just hate it.
Yeah.
There was a lot of so Dracula and Vampira, whatever her name is.
Yeah, Vampira, I think
Vampira. They're announcers, and they have their little back and forth, and he's like insulting her intelligence and also, threatening to beat the hell out of her, which domestic violence is always funny, so.
Yeah, so apparently in 1988 it was still funny to reference the Honeymooners.
And relevant.
Yeah, because he makes a joke and she doesn't get it, And then he's like, one of these days, pow, right to the moon, and we were both like, yay, domestic violence! Woo!
It's the worst. But then he also does say, like, if I ever want to be lonely, I'll have you in the room or something. Yeah, that was actually pretty hilarious.
They made that joke twice about the villagers and then about his wife or girlfriend or whatever. They're never clear on what their relationship is, actually, now that I think about it. But he twice makes the joke, if I ever want to be alone, I'll invite you around.
I love it. That was
That's a really good joke.
Yeah, that was solid.
But anyway, yeah, only other things worth mentioning are, you will notice that we didn't mention the rest of the Scooby Doo gang in this entire thing. They weren't in this. They weren't even contrived to be gone. They just were non-existent. There's no mention of them or anything at any point.
He left the gang for Goog.
Apparently. Shaggy chasing that tail, getting some.
She was trying to get it in the car.
I just thought of that just now. Shaggy has a house to himself. He owns a house.
Yeah. Or his parents are, like, never around.
Yeah, so it's either neglectful parents or Racing makes bank.
Right.
The animators had trouble with time and space in this a lot. There are a lot of jokes where there'll be, like, something happening where action is proceeding to the right, and then a cutaway where then action continues going left instead. And it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. No.
There's also a joke where they're like a good 15 or 20 minutes into the race, so they've gone through several gags and sections, and then all the racers hit a wall that slings them back, and when they get slung back, they get slung all the way back to the starting position because they nailed Dracula and Vampira in their commentary booth, which was at the start of the race. So, like, they get slung back, like, several miles, apparently. There's just a lot of things like that, and it's kind of whatever, but as someone who's really into cartoons, I was like, this doesn't make any sense.
I think what was upsetting to me was, they had a Jekyll and Hyde character that was really joked about maybe twice, 3 times.
Criminally underused.
Yeah, I was upset about that because
it was like the writer hadn't actually read Jekyll and Hyde and didn't know what jokes to make about it.
Yeah, they're just like, he's just 2 guys, right? But in the same, he's just 2 guys, but really 1 guy, but 2 guys. So like they kept using plurals and just like, no, I don't know.
I mean, like 2 jokes they made using him were funny, and then they made the one that didn't make any sense because Dracula was like, I'll go for both your necks, and it's like he's only got the 1 neck.
Right.
He's 2 dudes, but there's just the 1 neck.
And even the jokes that they did make was about like split personalities, which yes, but like it made it seem like it kind of confused it. It confused split personalities from being multiple people.
Yes. So the one thing I really think they could have done with that, and this is like, maybe y'all listening don't care, but I think this would have been a great joke, is if Dr. Jekyll had a car and drove and stuff, and then he turned into Hyde, and Hyde had a different car, like everything changed.
That would have been really good.
And it would have been, like, they could have done a lot of jokes with that.
Or, like, at least have, like, a different...
off the Dragonfly guy.
Have, like, a different, what's it called? The thing that's in the front of the car, like, on Cadillacs and stuff.
Hood ornament.
Yeah, like 2 different,
like rotating hood ornament that turned into 2 different things.
Yeah, that would have been really cool.
They could have done that joke. It would have been funny.
Yeah. But they really kind of limited Jekyll and Hyde. I mean, you know...
I feel like they shot through this coming up with the most...
generic.
Yeah, just normal, regular gags as they could. They're like, what are jokes that we do? Do all of those jokes. Okay, movie's done. But again, some of those jokes were funny, and we didn't hate this movie. We just sort of had trouble paying attention as it went on. And then at the end, Shaggy wins. Shaggy wins!
Woo!
Nobody saw that coming.
Not in a million years.
And Dracula's like, don't want to change you back.
Not gonna.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
I'm mad at you.
I'm Max. I didn't want you to win the thing. And then you went... Dracula's the kid who resets the Nintendo because you're winning.
Or changes the rules.
Yeah, he changes those in the middle of the game. No, you can't do that. Why?
It's not allowed.
Yeah, it's not allowed. Cause you're red.
Why? We're playing at my house.
Yeah, we're playing.
I win.
That's literally it. It's like, my house, my rules, And then his wife is like, no, there's a spell to turn him back right here. What are you saying that you can't turn him back? And so I really liked this gag. It was such a simple thing, but Shaggy runs by and grabs the book. Mm-hmm. And then one of the Hunch Bunch runs by, grabs the book from him. Then Scooby runs by and grabs it. And then Dracula grabs it. And then Shaggy runs by again to grab it from Dracula, running in the same direction he was originally. Like, he just ran around the camera crew and then came back.
Yeah.
I thought that was a really funny visual gag, just because I didn't see it coming at all.
Right. Yeah, that was pretty good.
But yes, they get away with the book, and apparently, once you get away from Dracula, he's not allowed to chase you, because they just get back to the house, cast the spell, and he's not a werewolf anymore.
Isn't it bang, like vampires, they have to be invited in order?
Yeah, but he didn't chase them. Once they were, like, off his property line, he was like, well, shit.
You kids.
Yeah. Oh, well, the provisional government says that I'm not allowed to monster except on my own property. Granted, my property is like 18 square miles, but like, escaped it, can't do anything now. There is like an end bit where after they've changed him back and they're hanging out, he's eating pizza and everything, Dracula and the Hunch Bunch show up and outside his window.
If you recall, he had hand cake that Gook had fed him.
I think it was maybe just weirdly colored pizza. I think the inking on it was fucked up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was really gross looking then.
I don't know. It doesn't matter because they're hanging out. It was funny, but it's also like a purely weird visual thing. I can't explain it to people who are listening to this. It won't make any sense. But so then, they're hanging out on the couch. And Dracula and the Hunch Bunch pop up outside the window, and Dracula says something like, "Hey, we're back!" Like they're gonna have a sequel that they never had, thank God in heaven.
God, could you imagine?
They used up all the jokes in the world on this one movie. There are no more jokes. Humor died a swift and painless death as soon as this movie was done.
What year was the next movie?
I don't actually remember.
I feel like they should have waited out like at least 6 years for the next movie.
Hang on, I do have it here because I've been trying to collect these movies in anticipation of us getting to the next one whenever. It was several years until the next one, I think.
What's the next one?
Ghoul School.
Oh, yes.
I think it was like 5 or 6 years before the next one. I'm reading over it now. It was a while, yeah.
It would have to be. Cause
I'm kind of looking forward to Ghoul School.
Yeah.
It's going to be a lot of bad puns.
It's actually the same year.
Oh, it's the same year?
Yeah.
Okay. I thought it said 98 here. Oh, they put this one on DVD sooner. That's weird.
Oh.
Program contract, copyright 1998, Hanna-Barbera.
Yeah, no. Ghoul School was the same year. And let me tell you, I loved Ghoul School. And I remembered loving this one, and I was not upset about this one. I just was like, too long.
I remember Ghoul School mostly being puns, but they're like...
But a lot happened.
Silly puns, yeah. And a lot does happen. The plot's dumb because the plot is them trying to win volleyball or whatever, but it's like... Weirdly, for some reason, I remember finding the girls endearing. Like, I just liked them.
Mm-hmm, yeah. We'll discover that.
Yeah, so we'll find that out next time. For now, we're going to do our Scooby Doo or Don't. So we'll read a 5-star and a 1-star review of this movie and then tell you our take. Our 2 reviews pulled from Amazon are a little bit on the long side, but are worth it, I like to think. The first is our 5-star review, entitled A 7-Year-Old's Review. They obtained a VHS copy of this in 2005. I just want to point that out. I don't know why they made that decision 2005 VHS was soundly on its way out, but whatever. So this is a review by a 7-year-old, probably typed by their parent. This is one of my favorite movies. A race car driver, Shaggy, gets turned into a werewolf by the Hunch Bunch, whom Dracula sends because he needs a werewolf to drive in the road race in Transylvania. I like when Count Dracula does everything he can to stop Shaggy from winning. Scooby Doo, Shaggy, Googie, and Scrappy are stuck in a creepy haunted castle. How can they win against such obstacles? This was not written by a 7-year-old. Googie and Scrappy help the others in a really cool red car. This movie was the best Scooby Doo movie I had ever seen. Presumably, they've seen no other Scooby Doo movies.
Well, they're 7, presumably, too.
The Hunch Bunch tries to stop Shaggy from winning, too, by order of Count Dracula. That sounds like a 7-year-old, because he's, like, doubling back on himself, saying the same things over again. Even though Daphne, Fred, and Velma are not in it, it's still an excellent movie. If Shaggy wins the race, he gets turned back into a human. They do everything they can to keep from losing. If you love Scooby-Doo the way I do, then you'll really love this movie. The movie is 93 minutes long, but moves very fast and very fun. If Shaggy and the others win, they can go back home too. I've watched this movie enough times to know that it's one of my favorite movies of all time. It's really interesting, and kids and grown-ups will like it a lot. You should buy it. So it's clearly their parent inserted some words, but this does actually sound like a 7-year-old's review of something.
Yes, a very wrong 7-year-old.
They keep doubling back on it. Honestly, I think this movie would be fine if it wasn't an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
If they cut this, and it has to be 90 minutes to be a feature-length movie, unfortunately. But I actually think that this makes, like, a really good, like, 75-minute... special instead of being an actual movie.
Yeah.
Because I wish they hadn't done... I don't want to, like, go into it because it's not interesting to listen to, but they just do these driver gags over and over. It's like, oh, they sent Shaggy toward the tar pits. Oh, they sent Shaggy off a cliff. Oh, they turned Shaggy small.
I think if they had established Shaggy as a racer in the beginning, not just you watching him drive around, but like him getting ready for the race, the normal race, with no monsters, and like, preparing himself as a racer.
This that's actually, oh man, that's such a great point, because I think because this is a children's movie, they didn't feel like they should or could take time to establish anything. They had to just tell you and then do jokes. Those are the only things they could do. If this movie had actually taken time to be like, Shaggy is a racer, here's why the rest of the gang isn't around, taken time to figure things out.
They wouldn't have needed that extra...
Yeah, they could have easily filled in like 10 minutes with stuff that it would have been nice to know. Or like, even just scenes that would be interesting. Like, I think that they could have, like, granted, I guess they didn't do this because it's an animation, and animating new things or new scenes costs money, but if they had like taken some time to do some other stuff, I think that those would have been good. Like, they probably could have spent more time at the grocery store doing gags with just Scooby, Shaggy, and the Hunch Bunch. I think that, like, food-based jokes or whatever, like, I just wish they'd spent some time on not the race. Any time spent not on the race would have helped make the race not seem like it took forever. But yeah, so that was a 5-star review written by a 7-year-old's parent. Here's a 1-star review. I fucking love this review, by the way. I am an absolute Scooby Doo fan, and I've been watching Scooby Doo cartoons since 1974.
There you go.
This review was written in...
40s?
Yeah. Because it was written in, like, I don't actually have it up anymore. It was written in, like, 2012, I think.
Yeah, so they were in their 40s.
Yeah. I currently own 7 Scooby-Doo DVDs and have 3 more on order. They have to prove they're a true fan. However, Reluctant Werewolf has got to be... Sorry. However, Reluctant Werewolf has got to be the worst Scooby-Doo movie ever. It totally departs from the Scooby-Doo formula of solving mysteries and unmasking bad guys in monster suits. Instead, This movie is about Shaggy, Scooby, Scrappy, and Googie entering a road race with monsters. The whole movie is about a dumb road race from beginning to end and nothing else. The rest of the Mystery Incorporated gang, like Fred, Daphne, Velma, and even the Mystery Machine, have been completely left out. So the rest of the Mystery Machine gang, and then he lists the entire Mystery Machine gang and the Mystery Machine. I'm just pointing that out.
Love it.
As a Scooby Doo fan, I feel really disappointed and cheated. I advise all Scooby Doo fans to steer clear of this disaster. Alright, so that's what I want to get to here. We are clearly, as we're doing this podcast, Scooby Doo fans. We are not allowed to feel cheated.
Right.
And disappointed is not how I would describe how we felt about any of these movies.
Also, do not be cheated and disappointed, 30 years after the movie has already been done.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Yeah, straight up, if you're into Scooby-Doo, you accept that a lot of Scooby-Doo isn't good.
Right.
Strictly speaking, it's not actually good.
Right.
And we're okay with that. We're watching Scooby-Doo because, some of it's going to be good, some of it's going to be bad. Some people are going to say that we're dumb for liking Scooby-Doo, and you know what? I don't care.
Some people are like, a podcast? That's insane. What do you have possibly to talk about Scooby-Doo for 2 hours?
An hour and a minute is how long we've been running.
For this part.
Yeah. Plus the time that I'm going to add with the music fade in. And I'm actually going to put an end slate on this one, because we're trying to be professional now. Might be. So we have actually, I'm just gonna do all that now. I'm not gonna do an end slate. Our Scooby Doo or Don't is, go with this one. It came out a long time ago. You can get the DVD for $5. It's not a bad $5 decision if you're just into it.
I think it's one of the better ones we've seen so far.
Yeah, granted, so the early Scooby Doos are not good. It gets really good once you hit the 90s into the 2000s. Mm-hmm. Witch's Ghost is going to be amazing. I haven't actually seen it yet, but I've heard good things about Franken-Creepy. There's a lot of actually very entertaining Scooby-Doos if you're into cartoons. Yeah. So
I can't wait for the mansion one.
Yeah, and we're actually going to hit a bunch that I haven't seen once we get...
Aliens? Oh my God.
Yes, once we get past the early ones, we're actually going to hit tons I haven't seen. So I haven't watched a Scooby-Doo movie since 2000... Oh, man. Sorry, I'm just blanking here. 2005 or 6. So, all the ones that come after that, I haven't seen yet. So I'm excited for this. And you know what? This one's fine. Go for it, I say.
Your scale? 1 through 5?
1 through 5? I'd give this one a 3.
Yeah, 3, 2.
If I were to grade it, I would give it, a C. It's acceptable. It's average.
I give it a C+.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So for our end slate, you can contact us at needlessentertainment@gmail.com should you feel the desire. Emails probably won't be responded to in a timely manner, but I swear I'll read every single one of them.
Oh, yeah, and by us, he means just him. Your girl just sits here and sasses Chris, and that's it.
You can find me on Twitter, if you'd like, at needlessent. I'm Chris, needlessent. I'm not on Twitter a ton, but, I get the notifications, and I do tweet every couple of days. I'm just, I think Twitter's great for the people who really know how to use it. If you just click with it, it's amazing, but I'm not one of those people. But I use it to keep up with people, and, I tweet about things occasionally. Actually, what you'll get the most, embarrassingly, is me live tweeting, wrestling events, and live tweeting just responses to stupid shit that I see. So, you'll get to see I live tweeted the Royal Rumble a little while back. Before that, I live tweeted some other WWE pay-per-views. I'm just gonna be, making stupid jokes about things, mostly. But yeah, I don't think there's anything else. Needless Entertainment's going to get a YouTube channel, so if you're watching these on YouTube, it's just our logo and the audio, but hey, it's available there. If you are listening anywhere else, the Needless Entertainment YouTube will eventually be used for other stuff. We kind of want to get this off the ground, and then we'll try and go from there. I'll eventually be on Twitch doing things, hopefully. I'm really hoping to expand Needless Entertainment into, like, just making stuff, and I'll throw things at the wall and see what works. So, I don't have a Patreon, so you don't have to pay me anything. Just, please, just check our shit out, and have a good one till next time.
Yeah. Don't look for me. I'll look for you.
And she'll find you.
God knows I will, though. Bye!
Bye!